Welcome to the Directing Animation Livecast, episode 50 with Scott Weiser, where we will give you a recap of the first 10 feature film pitches that I have put out. 10 pitches in 10 minutes, followed by another 5 pitches in 5 minutes, all hosted in an interview by Kevin Lima, who directed A Goofy Movie, Tarzan, Enchanted, and more. So let's turn back time and begin.
Chess life.
Here we go. A pawn from a makeshift chess set enters the world inside the chessboard to level up and become a more meaningful piece. But in the chaotic world where the collective unconscious of all chess players dream, he finds himself lost and more hopeless than ever before. It's an interesting idea.
Thank you. One of the people who's the most enthusiastic about the project has become passionate about chess.
Right.
And after a while, he's like, your questions would be so much better answered by a friend of mine who's one of the top 100 chess players in the world.
Oh, wow.
Because they rank you by how well you score and how many games you play and who you play against, right?
Right.
And this guy has an Instagram that all he does is talk about chess, you know?
Oh, wow.
And so I got him on a call and we started talking about his passion about chess. I ran some of the ideas I have for the story by him. One of the things he said that was interesting is that once you make the first couple of moves, there are just millions of possibilities. And
right.
I mean, that
sounds a lot like life, doesn't it, in a way?
It does. It does. Yeah. Let's move on to Cecile and the animal spirits.
And the animal spirits. A young girl whose best friends are spirit animals embarks on a search for a clear meaning behind the death of her parents and discovers how messy the past can be. Well, that sounds deep.
It does sound deep.
It really does. It really does. When you use this short log line, you know, a clear meaning behind the death of her parents is impactful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where did this come from?
I really love Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter. And I've always felt like there's more meat there than she gets. This character isn't quite Luna Lovegood. She has a lot more bitterness that she carries with her than Luna does. Luna's a little bit more lighthearted. Uh-huh. But that was the starting place, was like, I want to see a character more like that. I rarely see characters in that vein of personality types. Yeah. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Another female protagonist.
Another one. Called Nothing. Nothing. An emotionless woman with a brilliant engineering mind discovers that the machine that keeps her magical, chaotic, world-bending emotions in check is failing. Wow. So this sounds like it has some science fiction edges to it.
Yeah, a lot of emotion involved. There was a female reader who got back to me and she said, this one is my favorite and I need this movie. Mm-hmm. And it's because she's been through a lot of depression and anxiety through her life and been through a lot of therapy. And she shared all these wonderful things that actually are in the outline. And another thing, I have these people in my building that every time they walk by that poster, they say they get goosebumps. So this is a wonderful project. I've been happy that I stuck with it, you know. Wonderful. Let's move on to Painter's Touch.
Pamela Cross, a wealthy young socialite on a permanent vacation to Paris, develops a fascination with an old traveler with almost magical painting skills that inspire remarkable changes in people's lives. Wow. Where did this idea come from?
When I was a young child, I would write musicals, and then I would make the neighborhood kids do them.
Do you have any of those? I'd love to hear one.
Well, this is one of them.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. This story was something I was very afraid of telling. I'm all about being a great father to my family, and this is about a father who's left his family.
From my point of view, it is my story, right? So I had a father who left when I was 12.
Oh, interesting.
And I didn't see that man again for 25 years.
Is one of the reasons that fathers leave their families is because they don't feel good enough.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Kinderlateral.
As his once successful financial company collapses into bankruptcy, CEO Ian Stein finds himself unexplainably switching between reality and the dimension of childhood. Some more science fiction.
Yeah. And sometimes you can go into deep subjects a little bit deeper when there's this fantastic removal, you know?
Uh-huh.
I also realized that if I have this guy go like Alice in Wonderland into this world, like Alice in Wonderland, he either get lost or never want to leave the world. And I needed a way to pull this guy back into reality and make him face it.
I have to commend you on the amount of work that you've put into 10 ideas. It's kind of remarkable. I couldn't imagine being able to focus myself down to get to 10 fully fleshed out ideas in the way that you have.
It took a lot of deliberation. So let's talk about the Unsingable Song.
So this is a musical fantasy, it says here. A full musical, so going back to your childhood again, right?
Yes.
Right, a musical.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. On their quest for fame, a Puerto Rican woman and a living statue mess up the balance of nature and put everyone's lives in danger. That sounds big.
It sounds big. That's funny.
It sounds both intimate, because I can imagine a relationship between these two characters, which again is magical, right? A Puerto Rican woman and a living statue.
Yeah.
But when you say put everyone's lives in danger, that word everyone makes it feel like, wow, suddenly like this is like a big world sort of catastrophe thing that might be introduced here.
I always thought it'd be cool to have a Miyazaki musical with kind of the depth of stories that he has, but also having music as part of it. The masked magic.
Okay. 5 unlikely friends find magical masks that can give them the power to become anything they've ever imagined. But if worn too long, these masks will steal their identity. Wow. This feels like it has like the DNA of like a 1980s Amblin movie.
Yes.
In some way. That's what
Yes.
it feels like to me just from reading the log line.
Good.
And since this recording, Masked Magic has become a self-published book through Kickstarter with the best reviews of any book that I have published to date.
So yeah, let's move to Cirque de Solitude.
A timid woman buys her own private island to be alone, only to discover it is already inhabited by circus people. This is one of your books. This is one of your self-published books. I know that because I have it.
You have that book, yes. And this one's really rewarding because it's out in the world now. And I had a young girl who I see once in a while who had a copy of the book, and her parents came to me recently and said, our daughter has reread that story over and over again.
Oh, that's great.
And she loves it. It's one of her favorite books, and that's really rewarding. That makes, writing the book worth it. Enough about books. Let's talk about a film.
A film that a short film that you've made.
Yeah.
Right?
Layers. In
her climb to find much needed food, a weary traveler digs through the many layers and memories of her life. And that's pretty much the outline for the short film, right?
Yes.
The log line for the short film.
Yes.
And I see here that you have a feature film log line.
Yeah. I even had a production company approach me about it. So it would be the same concept, that same idea that you can just take off a layer of your life, you get younger, and in that layer there are memories that may help you or hinder you some way on your journey.
Right.
Yeah.
We are all made up of our pasts, right? Okay, you want to read this feature film logline?
Yeah, let's read the feature film.
Okay. In a land worried by war, a young girl learns the magical secret of how to peel back the many layers down to a person's soul, leading her to discover many things, including a possible way to end the war.
Yeah, so the natural progression would be, well, let's do this with multiple people. Let's see how it's different when you peel back the layers for various different people.
And I think another thing I'm recognizing in you is a real sense of perseverance. That you don't take no as a no necessarily. So when you don't get funded, you find another way to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That's admirable.
Thank you. So let's talk about Vanishing Ink.
A washed up magician has to save the world from disappearing. That's very direct.
Yeah. It was self-published in about 2014. When I did the Kickstarter, I was like, someday I'm going to pitch this as a feature film. And within 1 month, I think, of me getting the book in my hand, the studios asked for feature film pitches.
Oh, really?
Something that happened during the Kickstarter is my friend who was a Disney character designer and had a lot of friends throughout the industry said, there's somebody is looking at this as a series.
Okay.
And I was like, well, who is it? He's like, I can't tell you. He's like, you'll know if you hear from them. I was like, okay. And I now know how it would be. There's a 30-year period that I just zoomed by. I was trying to kind of do what they did with Up, where you have that sequence at the beginning that's very emotional. You see the light pass. I was thinking, well, let's do that at the end. And there's a lot of potential in there. So yeah, it's one that could be expanded to a whole series, which would be wonderful. So that's all 10 pitches.
That's kind of amazing, sir.
Thank you.
And now let's move forward in time to these newest 5 pitches. Anti-spy.
Okay. Howard, the sleekest cleaner in the spy industry, fails to save an intriguing woman, only to see her coming back to life again and again. One of the things I was sort of attracted to in reading it was the idea that there's something right in front of your face that you don't see, right?
Yes.
And not until he's forced to go through this idea of zero mess is he able to then sort of come to terms with and embrace what's right there in front of him.
I think the thing that excites me most about this project is, again, I'm not a big fan of spy movies. I like the premise. Like, I like the trailer.
Yeah.
I like kind of what I think I'm going to get from a spy movie, but then I jump into the film, I watch it, and I end up disappointed, So I want to take those things that I really imagine will happen in a spy movie and make that into an actual movie. A spy movie that I would love to see. Sweet Singin' Sugar.
Okay, here goes. Spearmint Gummy, the top song and dance superstar on Candy Cloud, takes an unexpected nosedive into the dingy land below, where she meets salty, sour, savory characters who challenge her naive outlook on life. I worked on Candyland for Hasbro,
right?
So I've been down this road a little bit.
I also don't want it to be a candy advertisement, though, because I'm all about health, and so that's why we leave Candy Cloud and go into a world where there are savory characters, there are sour characters, there are salty characters.
And I think that's what you're going for, is that she's naive.
As I was as a child going trick-or-treating and thinking this bag of candy was going to bring me joy.
and all that got you was that tummy ache.
Yes, exactly. You notice the poster's very pastel and lots of colors. There's that one hand in there that's like decaying. I think there would also be good in marketing to do a poster that's all dark and then you have the pop of candy.
Right.
Super. Which is spelled SOUP''R.
In a quest to feed his village, a boy named Chingy wishes for the power to make food out of thin air. But those who eat his food lose the ability to see, hear, or touch him. This seems to very much be maybe one of the most personal, not personal for you, but personal for the character, right? He could feed the world.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right? But at a great cost to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the coming to terms with that feels like it is a very, very singular character journey.
Yeah. Also, as you read in the pitch, there was one of the early readers who, as she described her experience reading this pitch, broke into tears, and how it's already started healing as she watched her children lose their father. Let's go on to Tales of the Obsessed.
4 of the most passionate people in the world end up in a warped pocket universe where their obsessions collide in explosive ways. This one scares me. You use a lot of powerful words and when you put them together in such a short and a single sentence, that sentence starts to vibrate for me. I've read the idea.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are interesting. Right? Each one of them in and of themselves are interesting.
Yeah.
Of all your ideas, this is the one that could go in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
As you explore it more deeply or pull it together. Do you consider yourself obsessed?
Absolutely. How else do you come up with 100 pitches?
That was a leading question, right?
The last one is called Half, or in other words, Masked Magic 2.
After defeating the Mask Maker, whose magical masks granted wishes, but stole the kids' actual identities.
The five friends confront a new challenge, Jin's soul split in half, producing an ultimate evil whose power makes the masks impossible to remove.
It's interesting to me that this becomes a subject or an idea that grows from a book that you really didn't have that intention.
Something about me that's interesting that we've never discussed is once somebody gets to know me just a little bit, they start telling me their life story. And as my love for people deepens, it's like, oh, we actually can maybe help each other along the way. And not in a condescending way either,
15 pitches from 100.
From 100.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know anyone who's ever done that. It sounds like there are some things happening, so good luck with it.
Thank you. So there you have it. There are my first 15 pitches, with more coming soon, and more news on some of the developments and movement on some of these pitches coming soon that I hope to share with you really soon, because we're going to make these projects happen. That's how I work. And until then, you can watch the extended versions of these pitches. They will appear here as videos on the screen. And if you want to go to scottweiser.com/collaborate, you can fill out an application to see if you qualify to read all of the pitches in depth. And until next time, thank you so much for your support this far, and I hope we all get a little wiser. Thank you for watching the Directing Animation Livecast, hosted by Scott Weiser, audio version edited by Kira Horowitz, copyright Scott Weiser LLC 2023. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and ring that notification bell.